Our horror production includes many of the typical codes and conventions of horror. We used codes and conventions such as isolated areas, dark rooms, low-key lighting, montage of short, sharp clips, intense music, supernatural elements, bad weather, low-key lighting, danger, makeup, death, and disillusionments of the mind. For example, we used the intense music when we produced the build-up of tension in the film. The music allowed the film to have an asset of being tense and having suspension. We used intense music to create tension when the protagonist was walking through the corridor and he looks into a room. Meanwhile, the female character walks past the background. We used intense music to show foreboding features within the film. Also, we created the impression that the female character was dead, and this therefore fashioned the theme of death. We presented this theme by using clips of the main character mourning and drowning in his sorrows over the death of his sister. Also, we used bad weather to create the impression of darkness and misery. This can be seen in the clip where the protagonist is stumbling drunkenly into a dark passage. This gives the effect of foreboding on the audience. Our media production is not so typically conventional to the genre we have chose to study. We have used the age of our characters in a non-stereotypical way, purposely because we wanted to make an effective horror film. By changing the age and developing the conventions of horror genre, we believe we were able to create a more stylized production. The ages of our characters were much younger than they stereotypically should be in a horror film. This is non-conventional because normally characters in a horror film are teenagers. By using children, it gives an effect of vulnerability and therefore the audience will feel more fear for the character as they are deemed to be less powerful than an adult. We also developed the convention of a stereotypical antagonist for a horror genre. This was the age and gender of our antagonist. We used a female child to be our antagonist that challenges the stereotype of women being less powerful. Our antagonist is very powerful and shows pure strength when throwing an older male to the ground. We have challenged the common codes and conventions of horror film in many ways, including the fact that we use no blood during the film. This is uncommon in a typical horror, as horrors use blood and gore to create fear for the audience. We have not used blood for two reasons. One being the fact that we want our text to be a Certificate 15 film, and the use of blood would not allow this due to the rules and regulations. We also did this because we believed that the use of blood would take away the effect of a psychological fear produced by the presence of a supernatural being. Also, it was not relevant to the theme of the text. The chosen location is not a typical setting of a horror film, as it was filmed mostly in a school. The reason for the choice of location is that the school portrays the idea of children, which therefore creates a sense of innocence and vulnerability, which results in more fear created for the audience. Because of the setting and the use of a small child, this creates more emphasis on the topic of fear.